All right, round four. I got to play against the tournament leader, Rachel Lee, one of the strongest female chess players from the Dallas and Texas area, I believe. She was three, I was two and a half, so this was pretty much a must-win game for me. So early on, I decided to deviate from the theory. Start with g3. She goes c5, bishop to g2, knight c6, knight to f3. So she hints on symmetrical English here. A lot of these positions transpose into symmetrical English if white responds with c4, but I did not want any symmetry in this game, so I chose to continue with e4 and transpose the game into Sicilian, close Sicilian, right? Slash King's Indian attack positions. So bishop to g7, short castle d6, h3. Now h3 is a prophylactic against the g4 square, not to allow bishop g4, or when knight gets to f6, the knight g4. And again, I want to deviate from the theory here, so I'm trying to be creative basically. A4, so she goes rook b8, early rook b8. Idea is now black wants to go on the king side here, expand on the king side with b4, b5 early on. Since I did not press in the center, black is not in a rush to castle either, right? Now, I did think of transposing into the Sicilian with d4 here, but I thought that black can take on e4, I take on c6, then knight takes on c3, I take on d8, knight takes on d1, and I probably should take on f7, king takes f7, then rook takes d1, and we have equal endgame, but a little too close to equality. I think there are too few pieces on the board here left to play for the win. Now, clearly, this is still a fight, but the margin is very close, I would say. Okay, black will probably need few accurate ideas to hold it. So I didn't want to simplify the position, so I decided to continue with a4. She goes a6 here, d3, captures, captures, and we have a very standard close Sicilian position where white will try to play on the king side here, and black will try to create some counterplay on the queen side. As we can see, black is ahead at this moment. I'm trying to catch up here with bishop e3, b for kicking this knight away. Now knight goes to e2. Some may say that knight on e2 is not the most comfortable piece. Apparently, there had been a game between Hikaru Nakamura and Gata Kamsky, two US chess legends, at one of the popular tournaments that happened here in the United States, Millionaire Open, I believe, when they played that game in the playoff, right? So I was actually kind of happy to see that. That means that great minds think alike, me and GM Hikaru. All right. So knight to d7 was played in the game. Now again, I could have gone with d4, but after short castle, white's center looks attractive, but black also has a quite comfortable position, I would say, and is ready to counterattack it. All black pieces are aimed at the white center here. White does have a center, but I'm not sure if there is more than just activity here. Because if we go d5, now knight a5, and it's very easy to imagine white's position here falling apart very quickly. Like if knight gets to c4, attacking this guy, I'm not sure what is white doing there. So I continued with queen c1 to defend the b2 pawn, and at the same time I want to trade dark squared bishops with bishop h6. Again, this is a very standard idea in Sicilian, close Sicilian positions, or in general whenever black has a fee and shattered bishop. she goes short castle, I go bishop to h6 to trade those bishops, and b3. I thought b3 was slightly inaccurate here because now it's gonna give me a very comfortable center, and I am not sure how black is going to create a counterplay on the queen side. This b3 may be hampering. Black should try to go something like e5 or knight e5, one of those moves. But obviously on knight e5, I'm not gonna try trade those knights. I'm gonna move it away, try to maintain as much pressure in the position as possible. So it would still be a long game. I don't think it would end up quick here. She goes b3, I take bishop g7, king takes g7, c3, knight d to e5. Now black's idea is if I capture on e5, they want to take with the d pawn, put the pressure on d3, get a very comfortable grip on this d4 square. All black pieces basically looking at that queen d6, bishop e6, rook d8 with a lot of pressure. All right, so I have no interest in trading those knights. My sole goal is to attack on the king side, and if I can get started with the tempo, I'm gonna take my chances. So that's what I did here, and she kept playing very fast, surprisingly to me actually. And this move queen b6, which I thought was very dubious, dubious in a way that it required some calculation, and her making moves very fast gave me the feeling that there is no way she has calculated this through all the way, because I played knight e1 relatively fast and she responded queen b6 also very fast, right? So if I'm not able to figure out the consequences of this in probably a minute, and my opponent plays it in seconds, I will be suspicious. All right. So that's kind of was my thought process, and rightly so, I think, because after f4 here, black does have this c4 check. Well, to be clear, the point of this is if knight takes d3 here, knight takes d3, c4, I have this move knight f2, right? So this trick doesn't work. She has to go c4 check first. Basically, f4 was made after a few minutes of thought, and I figured that I want to bite the bullet here and force the matters, all right? So c4 check, I go d4. Now I get a very nice center here, knight to d3, and simply queen to d2. So black's trick is if I capture there, ec takes d5, and my knight on e2 is trapped. Actually, I don't have squares, but obviously I'm not gonna take on d3. I'm gonna move queen d2, keep protecting this b2 pawn, and attack the d3 knight. Now, if you do take on e1, which I think what black should have done, I take back with the rook, and I still like white's position here. e5, I was going to go rook to d1, actually defending this pawn and probably move the king away. Computer says do not worry about rook d1 at all, just go for the attack immediately with f5. If f6, then go h4, king h2, and play on the king side. Probably try to then take on the g6, double up maybe on f5. So I liked prospects of attacking on the king side here. And me being in this thoughts, she again keeps playing very fast, plays e5 almost instantly. I take on d3 after a few minutes of thought, and c takes d3, queen takes d3. After the game, actually, she told me that she simply missed the fact that after these captures, black cannot play bishop a6 to put the pressure on this diagonal. All right, now if bishop a6 was possible, obviously that would be terrible for me, because then I had to move the queen, and takes on e2, takes on d4, and black is at least not worse. But simply bishop a6 is not a possibility, because I'm hitting that with the rook and the queen. I'm hitting that square twice, so I will just capture the bishop. She goes knight a5. Now, all right. After she made the move, I thought, all right, maybe this is a counterplay. Actually, bishop a6, knight c4, putting the pressure on this, putting the pressure on this diagonal. So this actually had me worried a little bit. Not gonna lie. I spent again few minutes here thinking what to do and how to continue with my extra pawn. And I started getting quite low on time. At this point, I'm probably about 20 minutes when my opponent is about 35 minutes, I would say. So a little uncomfortable. But luckily, I was able to stay composed here, stay calm, and find probably the best defensive setup here. Rook f2, bishop a6, queen back to d2, and whenever knight attacks my queen and the pawn, I simply go back to c1 to defend this b2 pawn. Right, so I got everything covered at the moment, but black does have a lot of activity here. However, is it going to be enough? We will see. Bishop back to b7. I also thought during the game bishop b5 would be slightly better, and the computer apparently agrees with me. And this was the time I decided, all right, it is time to get my attack going. So g4, rook to a8. Now black is trying to get active on the a file, and this was an inaccuracy on my side. Apparently I played rook b1, so I was not sure of this position. I actually figured that taking rooks here should be a good idea for me, because that's gonna take the rook away from the f file, from the defense of the king, and then I can try to go f5. But I was thinking that, all right, if I'm not able to checkmate immediately there, I may then this rook a2 may come too soon, all right, too quick, basically. And for that reason, I decided to keep this one rook at the defense of the queen side, in case I also need to move the queen away. And then I can also try to bring this rook to f1 if I need. But apparently computer does not like it, says that this gives black now enough resources for defense and also to create some counterplay with rook a2. So back to 0.2, apparently, if black was to play f6. But all right, f5, g5. I'd probably then try to make some progress on the king side here. However, this is not going to be easy. Luckily for me, she continues playing fast here, takes on d4, knight takes d4, rook e8, and here I figured that she is also trying to bite the bullet, basically say that, oh, I'm gonna take the e4 pawn and prove me wrong, show me where is the mate. All right, and that's exactly what happened in the game. Bishop takes e4, and now here I am with maybe a little under 20 minutes left on the clock, and trying to figure out where is the mate. I did spend about 10 minutes. Maybe I had a little less, actually. I had probably about 15 minutes, and I spent about like 10 minutes figuring out here where is the mate. Now, I calculated a lot of things, but I did not find the most precise win. Most precise win here we'll see. First, let me actually show you some lines. So f6 check, king moves away, queen h6, rook g8. This is reinforced, right? And now here I am thinking, how do we mate the king? Now, if I try immediate g5 here, I'm actually gonna most likely lose, because when I go rook f4 here, black has rook e4. Rook f4, by the way, is threatening the mate, okay? Queen h7 takes their rook h4. So it feels very close, but rook e4 defends everything, and I'm not able to bring the rook into the attack. All right. Then I was thinking that, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go rook f4 first, and if black takes my rook, now I can go g5, and that should be a mate. All right, because rook cannot go to e4, and then I can threaten to take on h7 with a check and rook h4. So yes, that would be winning. But when I go rook f4 again, black is gonna take my bishop on g2, and if I go g5, then rook e4 again, I am losing. That's right here. So rook f4 does not work. Then I started thinking about, While rook e1 should be really good. Point being that now this bishop is pinned. You can't capture here because I will take on e8. So rook e8, and if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Bringing all the pieces into the game should be the best way to go in most cases. All right, that you cannot go wrong with that. Right, if you're not sure how to checkmate the king and you see that there is a way to bring additional attackers in the game, you cannot go wrong with that. All right, so rook e1, black has to play d5 here to defend this guy, and apparently now this very nice idea, knight to f3, threatening to go knight g5, and then there will be a checkmate threat on h7, there will be checkmate threat on f7. All right, so that would be the way to go, and that is just lights out. All right, that would be the most accurate win. Black has to go g5 and then simply knight g5, rook g5, queen takes g5. White is now an exchange up, threatening checkmate. Attack still continues, so this should be a comfortable win. All right. What I did instead was taking on e4, rook takes e4, and then go knight f3. So I figured that this is the key idea to win, but apparently I missed that here. He has a very unusual defensive idea. Actually, he has to go rook e2 first. I defend my rook on f2, and then rook goes back to e5. Right now, the point of this being that on a rook to e5, now if I go knight g5, which is, you'll see what happened in the game, rook takes g5, queen takes g5, and knight takes b2. So black forced the rook away from defending that b2 pawn. Now if black was to capture the pawn on b2, then I think here game goes very unclear, because now knight is gonna move back. First of all, d3 is a threat here, then push the pawn, and I'll have serious issues here trying to block this pawn. All right, so black will have a lot of counterplay here with that b pawn, and if knight takes e5 immediately, knight takes e5, and as surprising as this may be, black is getting that exchange back, because I can't stop knight d3. If I move, I cannot move queen back actually, because knight f3 check. If I was to go king g2, my queen is getting trapped. My queen is gonna get in jail now. It's not gonna get trapped, but it's gonna remain in jail for some time, next few moves at least. All right, and basically now queen versus knight, queen and knight versus two rooks. Okay, that's the material balance, because this rook and queen are blocking each other. Right, so rook to e5 was played immediately. All right, and this was the mistake in the game. I think actually seeing that idea rook e2 and then back to e5, that would be very impressive, but it's definitely not an easy idea to see. And she was not able to find it. She goes immediately rook e5, and now the difference is I go knight to g5. I don't capture immediately on e5. Rook takes g5, queen takes g5, and we have the similar position as in the other line, where my rook was on f1 and the b2 pawn was hanging. Now in this line, b2 pawn is not hanging, so white is winning comfortably. The end of the game was actually very nice here. I have very little time, probably about 2 minutes on the clock, so I'm playing relatively fast. Basically, I'm playing on the delay, and she's trying to create some counterplay, but I was able to secure the win. Basically, rook takes d5, queen takes e2, knight e4 check, rook e3 ideas, but I figured the easiest win here should be rook to d8, force the trades, forced simplifications, and I saw that if black goes knight e4, I can go king to h4, g5, king to h5 with the win. All right, almost Nigel short SQ king walk here, but not really actually. But it always feels good to move your king closer to the opponent's king when you see that it is a mate. Right now, the point is black is not on time to capture on f4 because I take on e8 with the checkmate. And the end was actually very nice. She had tried here going for the stalemate, queen takes g3, h6, and I almost fell for it. If she had played fast, I would have probably definitely see it still, but at first I didn't realize actually that there's gonna be stalemate ideas here. h6, I go queen d3 and queen takes d3, rook takes e8, king goes h7. If I'm being careless here and take on d3, it is a stalemate because black has no moves. It is quite funny actually. There are 4 pawns on the board, but none of them can move, and king cannot move due to my rook and the king here. So black has no moves. This may be very possible to happen in the online game. I think in over the board chess it is more unlikely. So I go rook h8 check, give up my rook with the check to make sure that it's not gonna be a stalemate. So I was actually quite happy that she allowed it, all of this. All right, it felt quite good. Cool, and just like that, we ended up tying for the first place with my last round's opponent. He also won his game, and we both ended with 3.5 out of 4 points. All right, over the board action felt pretty good, and hopefully we can play some more soon. I will see you on the next one. If you guys do find this interesting, instructive, or just fun, please let me know. Do subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.